These aren't just nostalgic movies about family, they're stories that quietly rewire how you see your own. Why is it that the films we remember as warm are the same ones that hit hardest years later? Why do they feel more honest now than when we first watched them? Some of these movies hide their truth behind humor, others pretend to be simple holiday stories, and one of them doesn't even look like a family film at all. Yet each one captures something most movies avoid: the distance between people who love each other, the moments before a family falls apart, and the fragile choices that pull them back together. This list isn't about the happiest families, it's about the most human ones, and one of these films will probably surprise you because it isn't remembered for family at all. But once you see it through that lens, you'll understand why these stories stayed with us long after the credits rolled. Number 5. Home Alone, 1990. Most people remember Home Alone as a harmless holiday comedy. A loud kid, two clumsy burglars, endless slapstick. But that's only the surface. At its core, this is a film about a child who feels invisible inside his own family. Kevin isn't just left behind by accident, he's emotionally overlooked long before that plane ever takes off. The house is full of people, yet no one really listens to him. No one slows down long enough to notice what he's feeling. As a kid, you laugh at his independence, you admire how clever he is, you wish you could be that brave. But as an adult, the story shifts. You start noticing the background moments, the rushed conversations, the irritation instead of patience, the way love exists, but attention doesn't. Kevin's wish isn't truly to be alone, it's to be seen. That's what makes the film quietly unsettling, because the burglars aren't the real threat. The real danger is emotional neglect disguised as a busy household. Even the famous traps aren't just jokes. They're a child's way of asserting control in a world that keeps overlooking him. A way of saying, I'm here, I matter. Then there's the old man next door, a character many kids barely remember, but as adults, we understand why he's there. He mirrors Kevin's fear, a family fractured by misunderstanding, a relationship lost because no one knew how to say the right words at the right time. And when Kevin finally reunites with his family, the moment is almost anticlimactic. No big apology, no dramatic speech, just presence, just relief. That restraint is what gives the ending its power, because Home Alone isn't saying families fix everything overnight. It's saying being together, truly together, is already a victory. It's a film that grows heavier with age, because the older you get, the more you realize you're no longer watching Kevin, you're watching the adults. And once you see that, the next film on this list becomes impossible to ignore, because it asks an even harder question. What happens when family doesn't just drift apart, but completely breaks? Number 4. Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993. At first glance, Mrs. Doubtfire looks like a comedy built on a silly disguise. Bright jokes, fast pacing, Robin Williams at full energy. But underneath the humor is a story that hurts more the older you get. This is a film about a family that doesn't collapse because of hatred. It falls apart because love alone isn't enough. Daniel Hillard loves his children deeply. That's never in question. But love without responsibility slowly becomes chaos. As kids, we laugh at his rebellion. We root for him to outsmart the system. We see the court, the rules, the adults as the villains. As adults, the perspective shifts. We notice the exhaustion, the instability, the quiet fear of a parent trying to hold everything together. Miranda isn't cold, she's overwhelmed. She doesn't want to break the family, she wants it to survive. That's what makes the divorce in Mrs. Doubtfire so unsettling. There's no clear villain, just two people who couldn't grow in the same direction. Daniel becoming Mrs. Doubtfire isn't just a gag, it's desperation disguised as comedy. A father choosing humiliation over absence. A man willing to erase his own identity just to stay close to his children. And that's where the film quietly breaks your heart, because the fantasy isn't that the parents reunite. The real fantasy is that love alone could undo damage already done. When the truth finally comes out, the film refuses to take the easy way out. No miracle reunion, no sudden forgiveness. Instead, it gives us something rarer: acceptance. Daniel doesn't get his old life back, he gets something harder, a new role, a smaller space, a different kind of presence. And that's the moment that defines Mrs. Doubtfire. It understands that togetherness doesn't always mean living under one roof. Sometimes it means learning how to love from a distance. That honesty is why the film lasts, because real families don't reset, they adapt. And if Mrs. Doubtfire explores what happens when a family breaks but still tries to stay connected, the next film on this list goes one step further by asking what happens when a family is split in two, and the children are the ones forced to fix it. Number 3. The Parent Trap, 1998. The Parent Trap is often remembered as a harmless family remake. Two identical girls, a summer camp prank, a clever switch. It feels light, almost innocent, but underneath that playful setup is a strangely sad idea. Two children growing up with half of a family and not even knowing what they're missing. As kids, we focus on the fantasy, meeting your twin, outsmarting adults, reuniting your parents through clever planning. As adults, something else stands out. The loneliness that exists before the story even begins. Hallie and Annie are not broken children. They're loved, they're safe, they're raised well, and yet something essential is missing. Their parents didn't just separate from each other, they split a family in two, then sealed off the truth. Each child grows up believing this half-life is complete. That's the quiet cruelty of the situation. Not abuse, not neglect, but absence disguised as normalcy. What makes the Parent Trap linger is how much responsibility it places on children. The adults are frozen in their past, hurt, stubborn, afraid. So the kids take control. They lie, they manipulate, they scheme. Not out of malice, but out of longing. The film plays this as comedy, but the emotion underneath is serious. These children shouldn't have to fix what the adults broke, yet they do, because they're the only ones brave enough to try. And when the parents finally reunite, the victory isn't romantic, it's restorative. Not about love rekindled, but about something that was taken being returned. What the Parent Trap understands is simple and unsettling. Children adapt faster than adults, but they also carry the cost quietly. That's why the film feels different when you revisit it, because you're no longer watching from the children's side, you're watching the parents, and wondering how much damage silence can do. And if this film shows children trying to stitch a family back together, the next one on this list asks a darker question. What happens when family doesn't feel like safety at all, but becomes the only place you're allowed to fall apart? Number 2. Little Miss Sunshine, 2006. At first, Little Miss Sunshine doesn't look like a family film at all. It feels awkward, messy, slightly uncomfortable. A broken van, a long road trip, 6 people who barely know how to talk to each other. This isn't a family bound by warmth. It's a family held together by habit. Each member is quietly failing at something. A father obsessed with success he can't achieve. A mother exhausted from holding everyone together. A teenager who has chosen silence over disappointment. An uncle drowning in shame and depression. A grandfather clinging to what little freedom he has left. And in the middle of it all is Olive. As kids, we laugh at the absurdity, the dance, the chaos. As adults, the film hits differently, because this is what family often looks like from the inside. Unpolished, uncomfortable, embarrassing. What makes Little Miss Sunshine devastating isn't its conflict, it's its honesty. No one here is particularly good at loving each other. They interrupt, they judge, they disappoint, but they show up. The beauty of the film isn't that the family becomes functional, it's that they stop pretending they ever were. When everything finally collapses, the competition, the dream, the illusion, the family does something radical. They choose togetherness over dignity. They step onto the stage. They dance. They fail publicly. And in that failure, something real happens. For the first time, no one is alone. Little Miss Sunshine understands that family isn't about fixing each other. It's about staying when there's nothing left to fix. That's why the ending hurts and heals at the same time. Because nothing truly changes, except the way they stand side by side. And if this film teaches us that togetherness can exist inside dysfunction, the final film on this list asks the hardest question of all. What if you already have everything and still feel like you don't matter at all? Number 1. It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. This film is often remembered as comforting. Black and white, snow falling, a small town glowing with warmth. But It's a Wonderful Life isn't a gentle story. It's one of the darkest family films ever made. At its core, this is a film about a man who believes his family would be better off without him. George Bailey isn't chasing success, he's suffocating under responsibility. Every dream he had was postponed. every ambition traded away for someone else's emergency, and slowly, quietly, resentment sets in. As kids, we see George as a hero, a good man, a provider. As adults, we recognize the exhaustion, the self-erasure, the terrifying thought that your life might not matter as much as you hoped. What makes the film devastating is how familiar that fear feels. George doesn't want to die because he hates his family. He wants to disappear because he loves them and believes they'd be freer without him. The film understands something many family stories avoid. Being needed can feel like being trapped. When Clarence shows George a world without him, the lesson isn't abstract. It's brutal. Lives unravel, connections collapse. Not because George was extraordinary, but because he was present. That's the revelation at the heart of the film. Family isn't built on grand achievements. It's built on invisible sacrifices. The ending isn't about money or miracles. It's about recognition. George doesn't suddenly get his dreams back. He gets something heavier, proof that his quiet life mattered. And that's why It's a Wonderful Life remains unmatched. It doesn't romanticize family, it validates the weight of it. It tells us that togetherness isn't always joyful. Sometimes it's exhausting, sometimes it's painful, but without it, everything else falls apart. These films weren't really about happy families. They were about people trying to stay connected while life quietly pulled them apart. What makes them endure isn't nostalgia, it's recognition. That quiet moment when a scene feels uncomfortably familiar. And maybe that's the real question. When was the last time a movie made you think about your own family this way? Because one of these films is probably already in your memory. One you watched years ago without really understanding it. So when the holidays arrive and the noise fades for a moment, which of these stories will you return to?